Welcome back to the Chaim Davies Show. I'm your host, Chaim Davies, and today we're continuing our Pesach series, where we're exploring the texts of the Haggadah shel Pesach and the Seder night and trying to get a deeper understanding into the process of freedom that we actually embark upon as a nation on this very special occasion. And today we're going to be diving directly into the Haggadah shel Pesach. Until now, we've been studying the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon's approach to understanding the fundamental concepts which underlie the Seder night. And today we're going to be diving directly into the text, which is used by Jews around the world every single year on Pesach Eve. And the edition of the Haggadah that I'm going to be using today, and we're just going to be analyzing the text, but this is a really beautiful edition of the Haggadah shel Pesach, and this is the Pesach Haggadah by Rabbi Yosef Tzvi Rimon, a beautiful, beautiful edition of the Haggadah. Rabbi Rimon is a rabbi in the Yeshivat Har Etzion. He's a rabbi who lives in Alon Shavut in Eretz Yisrael. In collaboration with Mosad Rav Kook, he put together this really beautiful, stunning, family-friendly Haggadah filled with notes and riddles and halachic summaries and all sorts of beautiful artwork and photographs of Pesach materials from around the world, from across history. It's really a beautiful edition. I highly recommend it. Again, we're just going to be focusing on the text, so any Haggadah will do. And the first steps of the Haggadah shel Pesach, of course, is when we sing the table of contents. Of course, don't you always sing the table of contents whenever you get around the table to read a book? And obviously, this is a bizarre type of a ritual, and not all Jews do it, but there's something behind this custom. There's the idea that if we're going to embark in freedom, then we need to understand that structure, order, is absolutely key, which is what Seder literally means. There's an order of events, there's a sequence that freedom is going to entail, and we're going to move our way through those steps throughout the evening, and hopefully where we end off is not where we began. We're going to end off in a deeper, more profound relationship with God, and ultimately as free people. Now, the first step of the Haggadah shel Pesach is Kadesh, or the reciting of Kiddush. Now, this is essentially the same as what we do during any festival of the year or on a Friday night, with one notable exception, and that is that in every Kiddush around the year, we use this phrase, which is seemingly out of place. We use the words Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim, in remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt. The full phrase would be that whatever holiday we're on, Mikra Kodesh, Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim. It's a holy time, it's a moment which God has proclaimed as sacred in remembrance of the Exodus of Egypt. Now, obviously, Pesach is the ideal time to talk about Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim. Anything in remembrance of the slavery to freedom process fits beautifully when it comes to Pesach. But the question becomes, why do we say this when it comes to every holiday? I mean, why is this part of the festival Kiddush? So there's an amazing idea over here, and that is that the whole notion of the Jewish people being able to stand in a sacred moment is all a result of the Exodus from Egypt. Because what it means to be free is that your time is in your hands, that your future is something that you can dictate. And this idea is actually baked into the Torah itself, because the first mitzvah that God presents to the Jewish people, the first commandment that we're called upon to engage in as a nation before we even leave Egypt, is HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim. Namely, that the Jewish people were placed in charge of calculating the lunar cycles and establishing the calendar system of the Jewish people. And that's an amazing idea, because it means that in order to be free, you have to be in charge of time. You have to be the one in the driver's seat of your life. You're the one navigating how your moments matter based on your ability to engage in them and utilize them to the ultimate potential that they hold within themselves. And so on Seder night, we can have this kind of extra kavanah, extra intention, when we're saying these words, Mikra Kodesh, Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim, that God allowed us the opportunity, by being free people, to stand here and celebrate a Pesach, knowing that that is a direct result of our being free people. Now, the next two steps of the Haggadah shel Pesach are called Urchatz and Karpas. And these two steps really go hand in hand. So Urchatz is where we're going to wash our hands. Now, we're going to wash in a way which is peculiar from the rest of the year. Because whereas normally when we wash our hands, we recite the blessing of Al Netilat Yadayim, when it comes to the stage of Urchatz, we're actually not going to recite a blessing at all. Now, although this washing ceremony might seem unusual, the truth is the laws that govern this stage of the Seder are actually applicable year-round. And that's because what we're about to do in the step of Karpas is we're going to eat a vegetable. Remember that Karpas actually means parsley or celery. Really, any vegetable will do. And the idea in this stage is that we're actually going to be dipping a vegetable into water. In this case, the custom is to dip it into salty water. And the halacha is, the Jewish law rules, that whenever a person is eating a vegetable which has been dipped into liquid, that's been wet, you're actually required to wash your hands before, to remove any sort of ritual impurity from upon your hands before you go ahead and eat that vegetable. And you do not recite a blessing when you're about to do so. So although we commonly never do this, and there's actually a debate amongst the commentators whether this law applies year-round, why is it that people aren't so stringent on this law of washing their hands on wet vegetables? But be that as it may, for our purposes, the idea that's going on over here is because we're about to dip this vegetable into the salt water, we have to wash our hands before. And that's why I say that these two steps really go hand in hand. Now the question arises, well, why are we doing this tonight? I mean, why are we dipping stuff in salt water? And the answer to that question, as frustrating as it might be, is we're doing things to get the children to ask questions. Now, if you followed along with me during the introductory couple episodes in this Pesach series, you'll know that generating curiosity through change, through doing things differently, is actually at the heart of the freedom process. And it's built into the Haggadah Shel Pesach itself. So straight off the bat, we're doing something that on a normal circumstance, we normally wouldn't really be doing. And we're going to be doing it here tonight in order to elicit curiosity. Dad, why all of a sudden are you grabbing some parsley and slamming it in some salt water? What is going on over here? Great question, my son. Let's embark on a journey together right now. Now, I'll mention that some say that the reason why we dip vegetables in the salt water on this night is because that's actually the way of free people to do. See, free people don't just sit down and start eating their main course. You've got the appetizers, right? You've got the little trays coming around. The waitresses are coming around with the little dips. So we dip our vegetables into water. Now, that doesn't really fit so well with the custom of dipping in salt water. The salt water is supposed to kind of bring up this visual for us, or the sensation of the salty, the bitter experience that the Jewish people had in Egypt, right? The salt water might represent the tears that the Jewish people cried. But be that as it may, whichever understanding we take for the Urchatz Karpas process and why we're doing this at the beginning of the Seder, the idea here is that we're doing things differently, either to express the nobility and the dignity of tonight, that we are free people, or to elicit curiosity from the people that are there. We're setting the stage for what's about to happen here. We're engaging in actions which are supposed to lead us to freedom. Straight off the bat, that's what we're doing here in the Seder. And before we even touch a matzah, before we start telling the story, already our actions have indicated that tonight is a different night. Tonight, something special is happening at this very table. We'll leave it there for now. Until next time, I'm Chaim Davies, and this is the Chaim Davies Show.